is one of our last days to celebrate Autism Awareness Month and Light It Up Blue is the campaign. But even though it's the end of April, we want to think about autism all year long, because the people who have autism or are affected by it, they don't just get to end it at the end of April. They live with it all year long, in their entire life. In fact, when I was teaching first grade in Howell Township in 2002, that was about, 11, 12 years ago, I had John Bartow in my class. He actually came late in the year because he moved from Connecticut. And I remember having this student run down the hallway. I can close my eyes and picture this little boy running down the hallway to my room where he attended. And he was kind of like the new kid because it was the end of September when he moved into my class. And John Bartow, all I knew was that he was coming from Connecticut and that he was special ed, and his classification was autism. That's all I really knew. And I got a chance to meet John, and it was quite a ride from now to where we are today. I'm sorry, from then to today. I've gotten to know John and his family. We've stayed in touch throughout the years. And today's talk is really to show you are around students who are autistic in our school, which is great. You're surrounded by them, and you're able to interact with them in your classroom. But really, what happens to them after school? What happens to them after first grade or elementary school? Where do they go to middle school and high school? And what are they capable of in their life? And is autism really holding them back? Well, you're going to get to hear about John's story. And because autism has a big spectrum, there's different ends of autism. And so John's on that spectrum, and he's going to share his story through his eyes. And I love the shirt. He's wearing the same shirt that's in the picture on the screen. And it says, autism, I define it. It doesn't define me. So he's going to tell you how autism defines him. Give him a round of applause. Let's get
Now, I go by many names, from both social media to gaming. But the one my mother gave me is John Paul Bartow. And I was born with a social disorder known as autism. The basic definition of autism, of what it is a tendency to view life in terms of one's own needs and desires, and that definition is very true. But each and every person, autistic or not, has a specific view of the world that they see. As for my view, I see the world as one of hardship and of great benefit. To go into depth with my hardships, I was an absolute wreck. I didn't talk to anyone. I just grunted and actually bit people. And it wasn't until the age of 4 where I said my first words. And ever since then, I haven't stopped talking yet. From when I began to speak, my parents knew that school would be extremely challenging, especially with moving from Connecticut to New Jersey and having no friends, being the new kid in class with a social disorder. But by some means, I made friends with about 95% of my first grade class. Speaking of which, my first grade class with Mr. Valgueres was pretty much the start of going down the road that would lead me here to speak to you today. It was Mr. Valgueres who was the first teacher who both put me and who put all his faith into me and made every day in his class unique, more than the last. I still remember when he dressed up like the cat from Cat in the Hat. Aside from his class, the spectrum of teachers I had have been somewhat of a slippery slope, both awesome and not so much. Teachers like. Not to mention back then, I had trouble making friends. And sometimes I even got in trouble for the things I said. And now I have over 300 Twitter followers today. But don't think for a second that school was easy for me. I had to go to countless upon countless therapies through elementary, middle, and high school. I had regular classes, but I had to be pulled out for my therapies, including PT, which is physical therapy, OT, occupational therapy, and speech therapy classes that went on for about 10 to 12 years. in the end, those hours that I was either in a group of kids that had it just as bad as me, or going with the social worker who did prepare me for the road ahead in a way that I thought was minor at first, but then played a much bigger part in my life. Even with all the extra help I got, nothing could have prepared me for the emotional roller coaster that was pronounced as middle school. It was here that I looked as weird as I usually, it was here that I was looked at as weird and used as an outlet for bullying. But it was never due to me being autistic, but rather from the trouble I started due to my lack of filtering my opinions. The teachers, half of them, that I did have were unwilling and unable to properly understand my condition. I think the only real teacher I had that showed me true, genuine kindness to me in my middle school years was my 8th grade teacher, Ms. Gianellis, and I loved her kindness that she showed me through that entire 8th grade year. Not only were some of my teachers a big help, but it's also my family who act as my pillar and are a part of my inspiration in my life. To start off, my mom. Now, something I could say something like, love your mother. And I could just end it there. But a mom like mine comes around about maybe comes once, maybe twice in 1,000 years. But even then, she's always behind me 1,000% and loves me to death. Now, my sister. Good Lord, man. Now, let me ask you kids a question. Who has an older sibling? Okay, a pretty good, healthy amount of hands. Now, imagine that person basically being your biggest fan and will go to great lengths to protect you and love you consistently. That's my sister in a nutshell. Now, my dad, or as I like to call him, old man, he's like a fortune cookie that I can have intricate arguments about sports, politics, and other things. And I guess he does give wisdom that could put dear old Yoda to shame. So, as my family, I have a living shield, a fangirl, and a walking, talking fortune cookie, along with countless cousins, aunts, uncles, and the grandparents that are still on my dad's side, who have formed a pillar on where I'm looked at as a king and a respected family member. But to be honest, it was when I made it to high school that my legend would reach its climax and ultimately end with my presence that will never leave that high school. I discovered a place of respect within Powell High School football. The story of Powell's football program is that the program went through 3 head coaches in the span of 4 years. And for me, I really didn't get recognized for